let's take a closer look at the differences between the Dyson DC65, which is on the left, and the DC41 that's on the right. Although you notice that it's been a modified DC41 because it's got the Ball Animal 2 head on it. One of the things I wanted to show was, okay, so this is the 65 ball, and this machine is probably from about 2015. I've gone through, and of course I've cleaned everything. This looks pretty good here for this intake tube. Well, that is right from the nozzle. And this, although it's discolored, is pretty clear and clean. This DC41 is obviously much worse. So this is just some of the buildup that you can actually get. And let's take a look at some of the other buildup and or seals. So I'm going to take this apart here and be right back. All right, this little rubber seal that contacts the bin directly, I had to go and reseat this. It seems to be kind of a common problem with these types of machines. Now this one's seated correctly all the way along, and it does a fine job. I haven't had any issues with it since I've had the 65. But if we take a look at the DC41, you notice that the seal gets a little whopper-jawed. Right in here from there all the way to there, until this piece starts flipping back up into the correct orientation again. So from there to, geez, farther than I can reach, about this distance right here, the seal isn't sealing right. So this is going to have to be taken off and reset. But I'm going to do that anyway because we're going to go and clean these bins. So this has been completely blown out with my G4. And this I normally blow out. But see all the accumulated dust and dirt? That still doesn't really normally want to come out. So I'm going to put this in the tub, and we're going to see just how dirty this is. But before I do that, I want to examine the HEPA filter, and more importantly, what's right underneath the HEPA filter, that seal that some people claim they have some issues with, especially with the newer machines. Okay, this is the DC65. The filter's kind of tough to get off the one hand. Now, I've washed this filter. I've actually measured it as well. It looks terrible, measures just fine. Let's take a real close look at the areas that people have complained about. Now, I have not, on my word, I have not cleaned this. And I've definitely not cleaned this in the last year or so I've had it. So some people, what I'm hearing is on the newer Dysons, ones like, say, Dyson Ball 2, there might be some kind of issue with these seals, specifically maybe this one, maybe in here. Maybe how well the filter actually can twist onto and clamp down to these little tabs. But on the 65, now this is just one example of my 65, I'm not seeing any trouble whatsoever. I'll go around the whole ball, and I'm not seeing dust buildup at all. And I've used this on and off, obviously, over the last year that I've had it or so, and there's no dust buildup. So it looks like, as far as I can tell, this particular filter and its, plastic on rubber seals appear to actually be working, at least in the 65, or at least in my 65. But let's take a look at this DC41. Let's do the same thing here. All right, here's the DC41. Now, this is Thomas Rechtenwald's. It's not mine. This has not been cleaned. I don't think the machine's actually been given a bath or anything. So let's take a look at this filter on the 41. See, there's a 65 over there. So kind of looks about the same to my 65 filter, but I'm going to go and wash this, make a video of it. So let's take a real close look at the DC41. So I'm not seeing anything, and I know this machine definitely was probably abused to some degree. I'm not saying that Thomas did that. He bought this machine used just recently. So he's not responsible for any abuse or damage that you would see. But you know what I'm not seeing? I am not seeing any appreciable dust buildup. And this machine is obviously much older than the 65. So I'm going to guess that the people that are having issues with dust blow by, they're either newer Dysons, and for some reason the mechanism that connects this to that isn't doing as well. It's been redesigned. I don't have a ball or a ball 2 to take a look at, but I am just not seeing any issues at all with either my 65 or Thomas's DC41. All right, so now I've got to go and put this and maybe a few other things in the tub and see just how much dirt comes out. Let's get to cleaning DC41 cyclones filter. First thing I'm going to do is see what this guy's like. I'm not seeing a whole lot of stuff come out. Of course, it's obviously very stained. Alright, I thought maybe it would turn the water, I don't know, black, brown, something, anything? I'm not seeing anything come out of there. Alright. So you got the directions here. Tap water, bang it out, leave it to dry for 24 hours. Yeah, there's nothing coming out of here. There's no particulate at all. Alright, now let's see what's going to come out of this bin. And like I said earlier, I've already blown it completely out. Oh, I know. I want to see how dirty the inner filter is before I do anything with the bin. So, anything in there? Nope. So the cyclones definitely work as far as keeping the dust out of this filter. And I can't remember, Thomas may have actually said that he washed this before already. But there's nothing appreciable that I can see in the water at all. So this is in good shape. Alright, let's see how bad this is. Remember, this is after I've blown it out. Let's put a brush here. Pretty good. That is not bad at all. Alright, so that can dry. Let's see what happens with these cyclones. Alright, see all that coming out? This is the problem with every cyclonic, dry cyclonic, doesn't have with the rainbow so much, doesn't have a cyclone system like this, so you have dust that gets stuck on the inside of these cyclones, and blowing it out does not get it clean. That's a nice looking cyclone there. Now that looks pretty clean. Alright, I'm in good shape. I'll need to clean this little seal and reset that thing. Now when you do this, you need to make sure that you completely dry this, and there's lots of ways to do it. You don't want to put it back on your machine and have it even be damp. That's not what you want to do. And normally when I get a machine in, see how dirty that water is, and see the ring that leaves around the tub here? This is again after I blew it out. Imagine if I didn't blow it out, it would be much worse. Okay, this is looking really good. This is definitely in good shape. Now, one thing I've noticed, it's kind of funny, is you end up, let's see if I can show you this. You get a little water in here. There's water kind of jiggling around in there. That's pretty easy to deal with. You can go and release this with your thumbs and actually drain the water out. There we go. See? If you're really careful, you can go and you can get the water out and drain that. I won't necessarily show that here. So this is now pretty clean, and you can see just how dirty this water is. That's something. So I'm going to have to use something to clean this tub. Normally when I get a curb fine, it turns this water solid black, like I've, I don't know, put in like, say, a gallon of crude oil or something in here. So I've seen worse. This is the ratings sticker from a Dyson DC41 animal, and as you can see, we're looking at 11 amps down there. That's the claim for this ball motor. Now here's a DC41, same sticker, and it says over there 10 amps from the motor in this ball. So let's do some raw fan airflow tests and see if these things pull anything different. Alright, set up the same way as when I measured the 65 with the same little adapter. The DC41 got 121.75 CFM, so we'll call it 122 CFM. So let's see what this DC41 actually gets. $47.44 times the conversion factor, and we're at 123.8. So if this one rounded was about 122, this one's about 124. Now what's so interesting is I've got my current meter sitting looking at these two motors right here, and this one draws, now this is unloaded, okay? When you load it, it's going to draw it down a little bit, but this one draws 12.1 amps, and this one also draws 12.1 amps. So again, when you load them, the total current's going to come down a little bit. But what's so interesting is, I think, it's my belief that the motors in these two machines are exactly the same. The ratings plate, that doesn't really make much of a difference. They appear to be the same strength. Certainly in airflow, similar, 122 to 124. This is the Dyson DC41 no filter raw ball suction test. Let's see what I can get. All right, that looks like about 110 inches to me. That's maximum suction. This is a Dyson DC41 raw suction test, no filters. Well, I look like something around maybe 115, 116, a little bit more than a DC41. Well, I'm here outside on my deck, metal table. We got the parts from the DC41 drying nicely. See if it really takes a full day. Of course, it's nice and sunny out. It's going to be nice and hot, so even something like this might dry fairly quickly. Of course, you never want to put anything wet in a dry vacuum. And you know who I'm talking to. Trying to be nice about it, okay? Don't put anything wet in a dry vacuum if you can avoid it. Get that little seal there. And the seal actually came out okay. It was just twisted, but it's fine now. It's in good shape. I'll be able to reseat it. And as normally expected, the bin is slightly cloudy. I know you can polish that a bit, but seals are in good shape. They're all clean. And you should have seen this when I first got it, before I even blew it out. It was really, really terrible. And this is dramatically better now. It's not perfect. I didn't go over it with a toothbrush, but that ought to dry nicely.